teacher and classmate. I'm Angel, and today my friend Ayla and I are going to be explaining to you some chapters of the book Teaching English to Children. The chapters we are going to be explaining to you are the chapter number 1 and the chapter number 8. Next, my friend Ayala is going to explain the chapter she chose.
The Young Language Learner. All education, including the learning of a foreign language, should contribute positively to a child's development by covering the most vital year of their lives. There is a big difference between what 5 years old can do and what 10 years old can do, but not all children develop equally. Some do it gradually, and others by leaps and bounds. As teachers, we are the only ones who can see how fast a child can develop and how he or she will develop. What 5 to 7 years old can do it at their own level. They can talk about what they are doing. They can argue about something and tell you why they think in that way. They know the world is governed by rules. Their own understanding comes through their hands, eyes, and ears. They have a very short attention span. The dividing line between the real and imaginary world is not clear. Children learn better and faster while having fun. 8 to 10 years old. Many of the above mentioned features will be a thing of the past. They have a very determined vision of the world. They ask questions all the time. Make a difference between the reality from the fiction. They have very defined points of view. Language development. Children 8 to 10 years old have a language with covenant the basic. They can understand, summarize, and symbols, can journalize and systematize. When it comes to learn a foreign language, there is much that is not known. However, they have not yet found a universal pattern of learning with which everyone agrees. Around the age of 8 and 10, children begin to make sense of the world as such, which is why this is the right age. Children at this age will already have some knowledge and preparation of both local and foreign language. This, for our teaching, means that words are not enough. Most activities for children must include movements and involve the sense of objects, images, and the environment. This will change as children grow. Play with language. Let children talk to themselves, make rhymes, sing songs, and tell stories. This is a very natural stage in the early stages of learning a language. Language as a language. Most 8 to 10 years old are already aware of their own level. We must make use of cues such as facial expression and movements for a better understanding of what we want to convey. Reading and writing are very important for a child's awareness and growth, and the concentration and attention is shared variety of activities is essential. Routines. Children are familiar with following patterns, have system, routine, can organize and plan their lessons. Cooperation, not competition. We must avoid rewards or praise. Group children together whenever possible, although they do not always need to work together. Grammar. Children have a great ability to absorb language through games and activity. The actual teaching of grammar at this age should only include the basics. However, the best time to introduce some simple grammar is when the student asks for an explanation. The important thing is that the explanations are given in the simplest way possible in order to have a quick understanding. when the student asks individually or in groups. Evaluation. It is always useful for the teacher to take note of the children's progress. Parents should be informed of their children's progress and encouraged to evaluate themselves. Nothing is more successful than success.
Number 8. Planning your work. Young children are usually gung-ho, and the language lesson will be full of variety and changes of activities. There is a very little time available during a short lesson for you to think. So, as we could see in the chapter 2, if you and your pupils are going to get the maximum enjoyment and the maximum learning, then the lesson must be planned. All good teachers plan, just as all good teachers are prepared to adapt their plan and know that they have to be prepared for emergencies. At this point, the question is, why do good teachers plan their work? Good teachers plan their work since it makes life easy for them in the classroom, also because it takes time, and the most important thing is that it allows them to use more of their energy and enthusiasm to enjoy what they are doing instead of worrying of what to do next. But when, how, and with whom plan? We can divide planning in three stages: long-term planning, which may be for a whole term; short-term planning, which may be for a unit of work; and lesson planning, which is for individual lessons. Although long-term planning is followed by short-term planning, which is followed by lesson planning, the three types of planning are different. For example, long-term planning will take place either before or at the beginning of each term, and you can do it before you ever see your pupils. If you can discuss with other teachers using the same book or the same series of books what they think about the aims, methods, and assessment you are using. In long-term planning, you can talk to the parents about what you intend to cover, if it all is possible. If you are going to have the same pupils for all the term, ask them what topics are they interested in. Give them a choice and try to involve them at this stage. Another important thing is that if you are using a textbook and it is text-based, you can look through the list of topics and you can decide to change the order or to miss something that is not suitable for your children. If you are not using a textbook, you must decide what you want to cover in this term and how long it will tell you for each activity. There I have an example of long-term planning. Once your long-term planning is done, then the short-term planning is easier. A short-term plan covers from 3 from 10 units. In this term, you may be planning the lessons for one topic, for one unit in book, or the lessons for 1 week. There you have to really decide where you want to teach the unit and find activities that suit your lesson. Besides, do not let your short-term planning get too detailed. You know that it is only a rough guide, but it must clearly show where you are going and what you want to cover. Do not forget that assessment is part of teaching, so write assessment into your plan at this stage, since teachers and children like to know how they are doing. If you are using a textbook, then much of the work is done, so you must follow it as far as you can. And if you have some doubts, you must look it up in a grammar book just in case. There I have an example of a short-term plan. And then we have lesson planning. For me, lesson planning is the most important since it has to be done before every lesson. Unless you work with another teacher in the classroom, you should do it alone. If you have done short-term planning, then the lesson planning is easier. You know what's gone before and what is coming after. There are some points to remember when making your lesson plan. Number 1. Decide when and how to use group work. Make the organization of the classroom as easy as possible. Number 2. Link this lesson with the one before and think about the after. Number 3. The time of the day is important. Do not make noisy activities at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Number 4, indicate how much time an activity will take. Number 5, always have more activities than you think you will need. And number 6, try to make a balance. For example, make quiet activities with noisy activities, or in the way of working, like individual work, pair work, group work, or whole class activities. There I have an example of lesson plan. The last thing this chapter says is what to do when things go wrong. It is pretty obvious that someday things are going to get wrong, or rather not as you planned. That is why you must know what to do in these occasions. Several things can go wrong. For example, an external or internal disturbance, when the class is out of control, when an activity is taking too long, when an activity doesn't work, or when an activity is too difficult. You must always have to have a plan for keeping children quiet and concentrated on things they are doing. For example, if an activity is getting too long, you can tell them to finish it for homework, or that this activity is very important and you have to spend time doing it. Another example is when an activity doesn't work. For example, if a CD doesn't work, do not spend time trying to make it work. Leave it and read the text or sing the song by yourself. And to wrap up, I conclude that planning your work is important, since if you are a teacher, it makes your life easier and it also makes you to get prepared for every problem that may surge when teaching. And that's all. Blessings.